Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Broken by Concept, episode 215. I want to start off and set the scene with a bit of a story here of a conversation I had with AJ recently, an MLA coach we have in the program. And we're talking about the mental stack. And I asked him, I said, were you always aware of the concept of the mental stack? Now, before we actually get into the story, I guess it's good to preface for the people that maybe aren't overly familiar with this concept.
We've used this term a lot, but let's define it.
Let's define it quickly. Well, actually, out of interest, how would you define it, Nathan?
Mental stack is how much you can possibly think at one moment. I usually like to think it's like you can only think about in your active memory about 4 or 5 things, and the rest of it has to be intuition. Muscle memory. Whenever I think about mental stack, my first thought goes to, this is my mental stack. Now, how much of my muscle memory is there that, allows me to make decisions quick?
Right. So it's essentially just mental bandwidth.
Mental bandwidth. Yeah, I like that word better, I think.
Right, mental bandwidth. And you're alluding to muscle memory because when you don't have a lot of mental bandwidth available, or you're capped out, your mental bandwidth is capped out, you have to rely on your muscle memory, right? And your intuition to override and I guess kick in, to make decisions.
That's right.
Because you don't have so much energy.
I actually always like to think of it the other way around, right? It's like, I think about mental stack as like the extra bonus pluses.
Interesting.
Versus like, this is my foundation, because you're purely playing without thinking is just, that's sort of like, I don't like to think of it as like your baseline skill level, but if that's my autopilot mode, like I can do that. I can clear my cans without looking. I can F key, all that. And then the next level is, okay, this is the situation that's unfolding. My top lane just took a weird trade. I know the enemy jungler's there. Maybe I need to constantly go trade on the other side of the map.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I would agree with that. And so, going back to the discussion with AJ, I asked him, were you always aware of the concept of the mental stack? Was this always something that you respected? Now, he gave me an interesting little story where he came from a bit of a StarCraft background. He played StarCraft. Now, we didn't play StarCraft all that much. I played a little bit of dabbled in it.
Not a single game.
But basically what he said was, back in the day, he really took StarCraft quite seriously, and he tried to get better at the game of StarCraft. And within the game of StarCraft, when you're watching better players, there is an instantaneous respect for the actual concept of the mental stack, because it's painfully obvious what having a freed up mental stack allows you to do. Okay. So in StarCraft, when you look at great players, you'll see them controlling many, many units at once. So they'll be panning their camera. This is obviously a very simplistic and an amateur take of the game.
When I was here thinking about StarCraft, people would use the word APM a lot. Like, was it 200 actions per minute or whatever?
Right, so I'm assuming, because in the game of StarCraft, there is many tasks that you need to kind of do simultaneously. You need to gather resources, you need to advance your units, you need to get new bases. There's a lot of things that you need to do simultaneously. And in order to do that, all of that information is not condensed onto one screen, or one part of your screen. Whereas in League of Legends, a lot of the time, let's say we're playing, in the lane phase, a lot of the things that we are going to be contemplating in that exact moment are going to be, not all of them, a lot of them are going to be on our screen in that exact moment. There's a minion here. I'm interacting with this particular champion. It's kind of all in this one screen.
For laners,
for the most part. We'll come back. This is the beginning, right?
Yep.
But in StarCraft, it's painfully obvious that, wow, this person has engraved so much muscle memory, has such an advanced mental stack that they're not only able to gather resources here, they're able to move their troops over here, they're able to do this thing over here. It's so obvious that you can't not be aware of the existence of the mental stack. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with being good at the game of StarCraft. Like, you can't be good at StarCraft without kind of at least intuitively understanding that. Now, I said, well, he said when he came to League of Legends, he inherently had a respect for the mental stack from his experiences in StarCraft. But in League of Legends, this is a little bit different, okay? And this is my contention here. I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Nathan. In League, there is a lot less respect for the mental stack. There's a lot less respect for the amount of information that is being gathered by a particular player, even a very high-level player. We naturally assume that whatever we see on their screen is at max, maybe they're panning a camera to a side lane. That's the only thing that they're thinking about.
You don't have the as clear APM moving around like a StarCraft player would. So
Exactly
it
right.
looks similar to maybe like a
naked
silver
eye.
player in their game. It's like, well, there's not much else going on here, right? But StarCraft, you can see everything going on.
That's my point.
I see what you're saying. So you could clearly see instantly the skill of a StarCraft player just by looking at their screen. But on League, it's probably not until they make a couple of decisions, actually, which is not about the whole API, that you can actually see. This is the way you can clearly see they think about waves and this trade pattern and stuff. Yeah, I see.
There is
This
a
makes
direct
lot of
correlation
sense.
in a weird way. Look, I'm not going to say direct correlation. I would say there is a clearer correlation between APM and mental stack in a game like StarCraft comparatively to what it is in League. Just because you don't have to have the most sophisticated APM in League to have an extremely advanced mental stack, because you're gathering and processing a lot of information that may not be present on your screen right now.
And the game moves it's always hard to explain. The game moves fast but slow.
Or expand on that.
I guess it just comes down to, again, the actions per minute. You know, you got to wait for the last hit. You've got to wait for the minion wave. You have to play around 15-second cooldowns, big cooldowns. I'm thinking more so on like the early game. Like things are just, it takes me. Let's say if you watch a
But
jungler,
isn't that relative? Isn't that just because you're able to slow down the game mentally? Because 15 seconds to the layman may not be really that might not be slow at all. I mean, if you think about the average player, let's say,
compared to StarCraft,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's relative to two things: relative to other games, or relative to.
I guess you're right. Let's say if you've never played a game before, and 15 seconds, it doesn't sound like, or even just a 7-second cooldown. Yeah, I guess that. For the context of
and that's
League,
just one piece
that's
of
a lot.
information,
Yeah,
right?
Piece of
I mean,
information.
there's many probably other things happening at that period of time.
And
You're
I'm
just not thinking about the time that they have to spend hitting the camps. You've just factored that in. Like if you're hitting your camps or whatever it might be, you're thinking about clearing your camp, where you're going to path, also the cooldown of that person. That's just one
That's
variable.
right. But obviously, people can't see that unless that compared to StarCraft.
Yes.
What they just see is me hitting a Krug's camp for 15 seconds and 3 pans. But there's so much that I'm probably thinking about in that moment that to the naked eye.
And look, I'm not saying that a StarCraft player who is not thinking deeply either. Obviously, I'm not. This is not a comparison at all. I'm just saying, again, why we found there to be a case. This is what we found to be the case in League, that there is an inherent disrespect for the mental stack aspect of the game. And the reason I say that, let's expand on this a little bit deeper. What does that mean exactly? What does that statement actually mean? There is an inherent disrespect for the mental stack aspect of the game. To deconstruct this, I'm going to pose kind of like it could be a bit of a butchered metaphor, but the way most people view improving in League of Legends or developing skill or even having consistent gameplay is there is a problem, right? I died to this gank. Then there is some sort of solution, whether it's like, oh, I have to ward and lean. And then it's like, oh, cool, great. I understand that. Now I learn, now I'm better. And so, there is an element of truth to that. That is definitely happening at some level. But it's a lot more nuanced than that. Well, in reality, what it looks like is there's a problem. There is an idea of a solution, but then there is the actual execution of the aspect of that, which includes having the mental capacity or the mental bandwidth to even make that decision in that moment. And then you have kind of the learning, right? And so when most people get frustrated in their learning journey, a lot of it, I suspect, comes from an inherent disrespect for, wow, I just don't have the mental capacity to make this decision yet. Even if I logically understand what I have to do. Even if I go to a session and Curtis tells me or Nathan tells me, this is what you got to do next time, if they don't have a respect for how hard it is to execute upon this and factor this in while doing these other things, then you're not really going to go anywhere. And you are going to be inherently frustrated, aren't you? Because you're thinking, well, am I just an idiot? Even though I understand this logically, how many times have I heard Curtis talk about warding and leaning or jungle tracking or thinking about the support? But I'm still making this mistake. Am I just an idiot? Am I just not made for this game?
I'm untalented.
Am I just untalented? No, you haven't developed the mental stack enough. And so I've been really reflecting on what are the root causes as to what makes people so upset in the game of League of Legends. And I believe this is a huge, it's a misunderstanding for people.
Not even misunderstanding, just not talked about or thought about. It's especially in the education, the educational coaching community. It's again question answer. It's just problem solution. Like, how do you play this matchup? Just do this, and it's really not that simple. Imagine if it was that simple, the game would suck.
Well, you know what it is actually. What I think it is. A lot of the coaches and the content creators in our industry is, it's almost as if they naturally assume. They assume that it's kind of like, it's like tacitly understood knowledge no shit, you got to get into the repetitions, or like no shit that you should know that you don't have the developmental stack. It's almost as if, like, you know what I mean? It's like,
I don't think so at all. If I think about us or me in season 3, season 4, if you were to talk to me about the mental stack, I wouldn't call it that. I would call that talent. You see what I mean?
Interesting. So one's ability to do these multiple things at once consistently in your mind would go straight
You're
to
just a good gamer. Yeah,
Game
your talent.
Okay.
It's not something you can develop. Like, you shouldn't have to think about that the mental stack exists. You see what I?
Yeah, no, totally.
You see, even
so do you think it's that rudimentary for people? You think that a lot of these other content creators or coaches,
especially people like a high elo at the beginning, because remember, they skipped. If you're compared to a new player coming right now, they have had years and years where they've skipped over all the intuition and muscle memory stuff that they've built, and then assume that the community has it all.
Now that I think about it, if you were, let's say you've played the game, let's take an example of Peck and Wolf. I love Peck and Wolf as an example because Peck and Wolf is just the definition of an old school league player, right? He can play so many champions. He can pick up champs so quick.
Yeah, that's a big talent of an old school league player.
He just gets the game of league, right? And he's been playing since like season 1, whatever, thousands and thousands of games every season, right? What happened, the benefit of being a player like that, right, is that when the game came out, there was no kind of like, there was no basically no educational resources. No one knew what the hell they were doing.
Everyone sucked.
Everyone sucked. And it was kind of like this la la land of like blissful ignorance.
Yeah.
It's like no one knew how much they were doing wrong.
Yeah.
You could be incredibly inefficient, but you wouldn't have even get punished for it. No one knew what they were doing. So in those quote unquote glory days of League of Legends from season like say 1 to 4 or something, even 1 to 5, if you had racked up thousands and thousands of games there, you've kind of developed such a sophisticated level of muscle memory and feel for the game,
pattern recognition,
pattern recognition before that. So then, when you actually had to learn the complicated things about the game,
right, they had all that.
You already had all the luxury of the mental stack already developed.
Versus now, you've got to do both simultaneously.
You got to do it
brutally hard
because everyone is so much smarter about the game.
Yeah.
So you get punished more. Yeah. You get punished way harder, and you got to develop the muscle memory to be able to even remotely execute upon the concepts.
What we're explaining right here, this is where there's just a huge disconnect between the high elo community and Master Plus and everywhere else. That they've taken for granted. It's like the luxury that they've had to play the game for as long as they've had. And again, when I say skipped, in their mind, they skipped all those years in their mind about all the intuition muscle memory that they built over that time.
What I realized? That there's kind of the meta of the Broken by Concept podcast where we've over the years tried to deconstruct all of these invisible concepts of like being a high elo player. Like that's what we've done. Like really what we've done is we've peeled back all of the layers. Like we've kind of remove the curtain and
we've sort of exposed the truth of high elo players.
Because we were that person.
Yeah.
So we were that guy that had no idea what we were doing that got us to a high elo. And then we've just started to, it's taken us years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In season 3, season 4, I would not be able to teach. I wouldn't be able to explain. The mental stack again would be so.
No.
I generally think that someone would say it will go in one ear and out the other.
And I'm going to go even a step further here, Nathan. if you were an old school gamer, right? You came from WoW and all that. You would have also kind of probably intuitively understood that there is an element of the like muscle memory or mental stack. Like you would have probably intuitively understood that, like back in your day. Like, for example, you would have maybe, I'm just going to just say some shit. It might be completely wrong here, right? Let's say you were doing your PvP in your PvP days with WoW, and you saw someone do something like maybe you're trying to time a counter spell. You know how you had those like timing the trinkets and stuff like that, right? You had to time
interrupt people's spells,
or interrupt people's spells, right? When it first happened, you probably weren't executing upon that perfectly every single time. It probably took you practice, right?
Especially as a healer, what you would have to do is you have to keep your teammates alive as a shaman, and you have to interrupt the enemy spells as well, the other healers or their mages and stuff.
So you went through that process of like, oh, I get what I got to do, but I'm just not good enough at that yet. I got to get in the repetitions, or I can't think about healing my teammates over here and interrupting that yet. So you would have over time got better at that and intuitively understood that, I'm assuming maybe there's a level there of you being like, okay, when you came to League, you would have a somewhat level of respect for the mental stack in some weird way.
Do you know why it's actually even more difficult in gaming than it is like traditional sports or anything else? Is because the hours and it's easier to play video games a lot than it is to train. For running a marathon, or it's just way easier. So getting the reps in as a gamer,
because there's no physical fatigue.
Yeah, there's no physical fatigue, and just the way the games are, like they're very. I guess people could be addictive.
Limited physical fatigue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm sweating. I always say I'm sweating when I'm playing my 3-box, man.
Sweating over the keyboard.
Yeah, and I do. I have to bust my balls to win my games, but Yeah, so that's why the gaming community is really bad at respecting the mental stacks, because it's actually a given that everyone has the reps. It's like, why are you not playing the game League of Legends 8 hours a day? That's what everyone did.
Yeah, right.
But if you, again, someone playing basketball and do college basketball or something, it's like, oh, wow, 8 hours a day? You're like the next Michael Jordan.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And so I just think in a roundabout way, what I wanted to take away from this whole segment is just, people need to respect this part of the equation. Just because you understand something logically, or even if you've maybe done this thing a few times, you're just not there yet. It takes time to develop your mental stack such that you can actually think about, such that you can execute upon things. And every time you get better, you're trying to add one more skill or one more layer to your gameplay, you are temporarily going to be worse at everything else before and until you've really developed that habit. And so there's this constant kind of interplay between developing new skills, but then also getting, getting worse at executing what you currently know. And you need to accept that. And the main reason I wanted to bring this up is because I feel as though that's why a lot of the players that get it, some people just get it in our programs or our coaches, whatever, there's a moment in their league journey where it all kind of just coalesces and they just kind of get it. Like they understand what the process is. They understand how to improve. They develop the growth mindset and they just don't get tilted at much and they become kind of that mental monk mode. There's a moment where a lot of them get it. And what a huge part of, the factors that lead into that is understanding that when they make a mistake, it's not as simple as I'm just bad. What am I doing wrong? It's like, did I even have the mental capacity
to deal with the situation?
Situation. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. Like when I look at a play, yes, I'll look at what I could have done and what I would do next time. But the question I really ask myself is, do I even think it's reasonable for me to execute upon this?
Or you give respect to your opponents where you say, oh, wow, like they insta-flashed. I wasn't expecting that. Or they out of base. Like they just, I've always seen like a mid laner one where I've said, wow, Katarina just ditched the wave and ran straight bot out of base and just counter-ganked you and just got a triple kill. It's like, that's well played. But you understanding that's important. Otherwise, you'll be like, God damn it, my mid laner sucks. Or Katarina's the best champ in the game.
Exactly right.
And that's when it clicks. It clicks when you're understanding why things are happening in the game, why I'm dying, why my teammates are dying, why the enemy team's playing well, how they're playing well.
Yes. And when we say that sentence, respect the difficulty of the game, we don't just mean the difficulty of the game in terms of just like how hard it is, in terms of like, win conditions and champion interactions and how fast it moves. When we say that, we also mean the toll it takes on your mental stack. And that goes both ways. And that's what gives you empathy for your teammates. It's what gives you respect for the opposition. And it's what gives you empathy for yourself. And that is the true key to being a mental monk and not getting affected by all the crap. One of the big contributing factors.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that was fascinating, really, when I kind of tied that all together with AJ. Okay. I wanted to talk about an interesting observation. It would be interesting to hear if you've also seen this with your clients, kind of this evolution of a player where I'll give you a very archetypal client that will come into your program where they don't really know much about the game and they kind of just play with very limited direction. So they're not thinking about win cons. They're not thinking about neutral objectives. They're not thinking about their role in the comp. They're just like...
What's the next 30, 20 seconds? Like, what's on my screen right now?
Yes.
And what might happen in the next 15 seconds?
Yep. So, can I kill this guy? Yep. Yes or no? How do I... just very, very rudimentary, right? And that's fine. That's normal. That's exactly where we all start.
Yep.
And then you come in and you say, all right, put on your coach cap. Say, all right, well, you don't gank here because, this guy's not your win condition, or we got to stack dragons here, or whatever the hell it is. You're starting to think a little bit more cerebrally about how you're going to win the game of League of Legends, right? So you're imposing this kind of structure onto their gameplay. There was no structure. Now there's some semblance of structure. Now you got these pillars that now they orient themselves around. You got like the neutral objectives, the win cons.
They have some reference points.
Excellent. So then this is where a lot of people, they think this is it. This is the game. I've got it solved. I know now I've got to play around these neutrals and I've got to think about my win condition and they get all excited because it feels like they've cracked the code. They've got the formula to climbing in League of Legends. But there's a third level of the evolution of a player where I feel like a lot of people don't understand, and that is adaptability. And this is where you got to get out of the rigid mindset. So you go from having no structure to being actually a little bit rigid. So it works, you're better, but you're not there yet because you're still too rigid. You're like, I just got to do this. I got to do this, got to do this. But then there's the third layer is like, I got to evolve and I got to be more free flowing. And it's like, okay, yes, I got to get dragons, but there's this free kill here and I can actually just trade that off and do this. What are your thoughts on this?
There's a couple. I mean, I could probably count them on my hand of the clients that have gone from the extreme, right? Where they, stage one, not thinking at all. Second phase, they've attended a bunch of review coaching sessions. They're following the champion reference points, general good things to be doing in the game. And then they just go to the extreme on that, the rigid. And it's very difficult to get them out of that to adapt. It's like, well, okay, that principle exists. That's true. But in this situation, the other principles come into play. And yes, those clients, those members, that's really difficult to, like that, we talk about clicking, that doesn't really click the adaptability. The adaptability of League is extremely important. I had an example in a review today where I talk a lot about, counter ganking as a jungler is like the best thing you can do. Some of the highest value play, right? Because it's like you get, especially counter ganking bot lane, right? The enemy jungler comes, there's 3 potential kills you'll be getting. You catch the team off guard. Killing 3 people, that's like, 1,000, 1,200 gold, right? It's a lot of gold. And, he's playing Udi as level 4, does his Krugs, completely skips Raptors to go bot, and he hears a Soraka and a Kalista who successfully pushed in the wave and they're full HP. But he's afraid, he knows the enemy jungler's bot, so he's thinking it's great. He's tracking the enemy jungle. He knows that the enemy jungle will likely gank. But what I was saying is that even if Jarvan was to gank there, number one, it's going to be so difficult to kill 2 full HP people. The wave is in, so the enemy ADC just wants to catch the wave. And also they had like a Sivir and a Nami. There's just 0 kill threat, right? At max, they burn a flash. And I'm like, you don't skip your camps for that. But counter gank, I see what you're doing here, but the counter gank in this specific situation doesn't make sense. You need to value your camps over this counter gank. Yeah,
and that really throws people off.
It throws people off because would work, but you just need to tinker a couple more factors. It's like my bot lane, it's like I'm against a Nautilus, or my camps are off the map, or I'm at a different time of the game. Like your camps in the early game, your first 2 rotations is really, really important. You've got to have a high percentage, a good reason to get off of them. And sometimes there will be a good counter gang, but that just didn't make sense in that time.
It is a really tough pill to swallow because it's so sexy to just have these beautiful like cookie cutter responses that you can just stick with, and they get you far, right? They're going to help you in a wide variety of scenarios, but League is a game of like, you can't think of it in terms of a game of rules. It's a game of kind of like, they're not really rules. You never think of League as a game of rules. It's more of a game of like, how would you say? What's the word?
I like principles.
Principles
that you follow. And if you follow
There's
them...
exceptions, though. There's exceptions.
There is exceptions, but even then,
No, it's a game of
exceptions are a
tools.
result of just gold and experience.
I actually like the way...
Tools.
I
Yeah,
like the way tools.
I
Because
like the tools.
what you've just described there, let's say the tool of counter ganking, that's a very valuable tool. And you're going to use that a lot. But you don't always use that tool.
Yeah.
You might use a different tool of like... Let's say one of these other tools is just like...
Tempo.
On
camps,
tempo or staying on camps and being hyper efficient, or and then you have tools of like stacking neutrals and some of them giving neutrals, or trading that off for something else. Like these are all tools in your tool shed, and you need to be able to just put that one away and get another one really, really quickly, and be able to recognize the circumstance that requires that from you, and that's very hard to do, and that is very, very tricky to do. But I think it's okay that it's hard, but you need to... A lot of clients struggle with, like mentally making peace with that. Like you got to accept that. You can't get angry that exists. You know what I mean? Like people get angry, frustrated. That is the game.
Why is that the case? Like, everyone loves the nice little neat one sentence. Yeah. That's how our brains think, and especially going back to, especially if someone doesn't respect the mental stack, doesn't understand the mental stack, those people will get the most frustrated about that, because it's like, why can't that be the case where this is what I do in this situation every single time, and I'm just going to keep getting in the situation and just keep doing the exact same thing.
100%. And so like the way I view it, Nathan, is like, in order to develop that adaptability, I just say, like, you got to have to problem solve all these scenarios. And so that's where pattern recognition comes into play. This is why at the deepest level, right? If you're going deep in the game of League, it all boils down to pattern recognition, right? So that play, right? That guy, you've just broken down this play. You said, okay, this is a scenario where you don't go bot, you keep your saving your camps, you don't counter gank or whatever. That is just now a scenario that is just stored in his brain. He's gonna have many, many more experiences, and then over time he's gonna be able to draw conclusions and patterns. Patterns are gonna form from all of these scenarios.
Yeah, they all come together.
They all come together to create these principles.
That's the click in. The click in is sometimes you've got, let's say you've seen the patterns of like 100 situations, but the last piece, you just needed to see one more to make everything else make sense.
Yeah.
It's happened with me, my own gameplay as well.
It still happens to me now.
Yeah.
Now to this day. Still now. With huge things. I like even to me, like there was...
What's an example? What's a recent one?
Again, like I would say this is recent as in like the past like 8 months, right? 6 to 8 months, right? Yeah. I was always stuck with like, I never really understood. It's going to sound really ridiculous, but like the specifics of why sometimes certain wave states felt good and bad. So like, it's like, okay, I know I want to shove. Like say if I'm playing a mage v mage match, or like Victor v Ori, right? It's like, intuitively I want to shove. But it's like, okay, some games I play this and I do this strategy and it feels amazing. But then other games I play to shove and it just doesn't feel that good. Why? And like, I kind of like I just kind of like bypass it. I just automatically assumed that it was because I wasn't hitting my skill shots, or maybe I was versing a high threat jungler or something. But what it really was that I wasn't two-wave cycling. So you want to shove, but it's not just whether you're shoving or not shoving. It's how you shove. It's you don't want to just permanently shove waves, because then if you're constantly using abilities on the wave, then what's going to happen is that the waves is going to get stuck on their side in this weird pocket between their tower and the middle of the wave. So it's just stuck in this awkward position. And then when the wave's in that position, you can't poke them. They can poke them better than you can. You can't deny them any CS, and you're vulnerable to ganks. And so over time, I realized, holy shit, I was right in the sense that I do want to shove in these matchups, but the how and then and understanding why,
I see,
kind of it all tied together beautifully. Now, like I can very, very specifically highlight when and where I go wrong with my wave management. Like before, I was like, I know, I kind of vaguely knew what was going wrong, but I couldn't get very, very specific. Yeah. And it was just like one or two pieces of information that were missing in my decision-making, I guess, process, or like my understanding of the game that couldn't allow me to replicate this stuff. That was a huge breakthrough for me, like massive.
Yeah, it's a great example.
And like bringing the wave back into neutral, that's a huge one as well. Like, again, I intuitively kind of had an inkling that like these are things that you would do, but I didn't like understand how to like why. And now it all kind of tied together. And then stuff with side lane wave management as well, just like little things, like not hard, and deploy in the way you deploy on a map. Like there's a lot of small things like I kind of intuitively understood, but I didn't get it until like I really, really properly understood it, like through highlighting it. But yeah, this whole adaptability aspect of the game, it's I find that most people don't struggle with the development of the skill. They only struggle with the development of the skill if they don't have the respect for I guess the mental stack, and also respect for that this is a part of the game. Like once you just mentally accept that this is a part of the game is not a game of rules, then it's actually just pretty smooth sailing. Just reps at that point. Just literally just put yourself in a wide variety of scenarios, take max accountability, problem solve these to the best of your ability, constantly come to coaching sessions. You just go through that cycle and they'll all come out in the end. They'll all come out in the wash and it'll all just be all good.
Yeah. It'd be great if that was the situation, Curtis. People are very good at doing that for maybe 1 or 2 weeks.
But they don't stay consistent.
But also there's the fire. There's the explosion.
The champ question. The meta.
The meta.
Yeah.
The meta.
Like thinking about the LP and whatever.
They're playing with low intensity, playing below their skill level, not sleeping. There's lots of tricks that can pull you away from the process, which is again what we talk a lot about in this podcast. Right?
It's funny you actually mentioned that. I got a guy at the moment, Edo, shout out Edo, and he's trying to be like the best Kiana in EU, right? And he's like sitting at like 300 or 400 master in EU, and he has his plan, right? He's like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna come to coaching. I'm gonna watch these VODs. And I'm like, oh, this is great, dude. You got it. You've nailed it. And I'm like, mate, all you got to do is just do this for as long as possible and just do not lose your mind. I said, the hard part about what you've all described is not the understanding of the process. Is it not writing it all out? You can make them have the most sophisticated process. We can develop that. The hard part is the execution. Executing upon this day in, day out, week after week, without not losing your mind, not getting bogged down in the LP, not having ranked anxiety.
Also not getting into the motion of the process and not attacking it with a fake process, not approaching it with intensity.
Like that whole thing is the hard part. That is the hard part. And so I had to remind him, mate, you just got to execute. You just got to execute.
I mean, hard part's understatements. It's the extremely hard part. It's not... What you said before in your little spiel, 2-3 minutes ago, that sounds so sexy. Take max responsibility, keep playing, come to review sessions. It sounds so easy to do.
It sounds easy. Yeah. And that's what maybe that's what we do on this podcast. We just make everything sound easy. Everyone has a go at doing it, and then they fail, and then they come, and then we just gaslight everyone. Maybe that's what we're doing here. Maybe we're just professional gaslighters.
I think we do a good job, Curtis, at highlighting the challenges.
We try. We have a crack. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about here before we move on is certain people have reached out to me about this one topic of like, I guess it ties or falls under the umbrella of why do you play League? And there's a few things here I want to touch on. First things first. I feel like there's this notion whereby you're going to have this like grand theory of like why you play League, and it's going to stay like that in perpetuity. It's like, this is the reason why. And if anything changes, that means I should quit. In reality, at least in my experience, this has been in my life and what I've seen from other people, where League is in your life right now is, and the reason you play League right now is it's not going to be the case in another year or two from now, or 3 years, or whatever it might be. Your motivations and what you want to take from this game and what your gaming experience and your gaming in general, maybe not just League of Legends, just gaming in general, it's always going to evolve. You're not just going to have some grand theory and you're going to stick with that forever. You need to be comfortable with your motivations and your relationship with the game evolving and maturing over time, because you're changing. You're not if you picked up League when you were 17, and the reason you played League at 17 is going to be completely different, including your motivations, when you're 23. Same thing as when you're 27 or 28. It's going to be different. And that's okay. That is okay. Just because you maybe when you were 18, you wanted to be the best rank 1 player, you wanted to play collegiate, you wanted to do all this, you had all these grand ambitions, and then maybe you got to 23, 24, and you're like, you know what, I don't really want to go pro anymore. I kind of just maybe want to just develop champ mastery, and I want to
take a step back
and have it as a competitive hobby, or then maybe later on you like, actually, I want to do this as a side hobby and I want to stream. That's okay. You can jump around. And I feel like some people feel guilty for like saying that, you know what, I used to take this game really seriously and I really want to get rank 1. And now I just want to be a little bit more chill and develop champ mastery and a wide variety of champs and not really take my rank super seriously right now. Like, it almost feels like they feel guilty for mentioning that to me. I'm like, dude, you can do whatever the hell you want. There is no correct reason and wrong, right or wrong reason to play League. What are your thoughts on this, Nathan, about like changing motivations?
This is a very good, very interesting thought. So you found that people fear someone who was really hardcore, wanted to climb, put every bit of their being into ranked and got results. Now they come to you saying, now Curtis, I'm taking this split off. I'm learning some other champs. I'm learning like a new role, and you find that they feel guilty.
No, well, they usually what the way the conversation goes, Nathan, is, I think I should just quit.
Yes, that's the first thing, right? Yeah,
it's like it goes from 0 to 100. It goes from 0 to 100.
I'm either doing this or I guess it's like.
And then I said okay. Then I asked the question. I said, well, okay, if that's the case, you can, that's fine. But maybe have a think about where League is in your life, and I think a lot of people feel ashamed for using the word like fun and like just casual hobby and stuff.
The for fun has that word, that terminology in the League community does not. People don't like that.
No.
You're for funning in my ranked game.
And I say that all the time. I get questions a lot about what champion to play. I'm like, well, what brings you a lot of fun?
Yeah.
What role should you play? What brings you the most fun?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Being comfortable that the way you played and the way you felt about the game at 19 years old is not going to be the same at 24 years old. It could be. Maybe you're just, whatever, you're very clear about what you wanted to get out of League, but more often than not, it's probably going to evolve and change, and something to think about. Yeah.
And just quickly on this, I had another guy reach out to me about, he said, I don't know how to put this into words without really putting any sort of emotional emphasis behind the text. But basically what he said is the struggles whereby, he feels like he always has to either become the best at the game or don't play the game at all. It's like this all or nothing relationship with League of Legends. And he feels like there's there's two people, Strax and Ruca specifically, have kind of messaged me about this. Strax was literally got challenger in EU, and he's been having, this, I guess, he's been trying to make this decision. What do I do? What does League mean to me? But again, there's like this all or nothing. Do I have to be the best? I have to try and get rank 1 and be challenger and do all this crazy shit, or nothing at all? And look, I think that a lot of people like, is that really how you feel? Maybe, but there's nothing wrong with just taking a step back and then trying to learn some new champs and have a bit of fun and just chill out a little bit. Enjoy the game for what it is. Or maybe it's just a random competitive outlet. I just think that you don't need to feel guilty for being a casual League of Legends player.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. Yeah, I think that's a nice little message, Curtis. Going back, you sort of made me think a bit more about, as you were talking, me when I was 16, 17 as the talented gamer, going back to the mental stack thing. If I was to accept that the mental stack like existed and you could like train up your intuition and you had to sort of think about things, that would just like hurt my belief system on my ego, because then that means I'm not special. Because it's like, oh, well, I'm just like the top rank 2 best Udyr. Like that means that, wait, someone can actually like learn this and catch up to me. That would hurt. You see what I'm saying? This is why I think the high elo community doesn't really, people just don't talk about the mental stack or acknowledge, because again, talking just from my experience, if I was to agree that like existed, then my belief system would shatter that hurts my ego, because then I'm no longer special Nathan rank 2 Udyr.
It's like a convenient kind of narrative to have, because it simultaneously makes you feel better, and it actually puts it out of reach for other people as well.
Yes.
It kind of puts you inherently on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would feel good to kind of keep that belief going, right? Interesting.
So I would just flat out reject it. Again, I'll just say, I like, oh, that's just, they're talented. People can't actually do that. That's just me.
Yeah. And yeah, that may be good in the short term, but it wouldn't be sustainable.
Of course.
And this is why you see a lot of people who were high elo,
or pro players and stuff. And
they have their time and then they burn out and then they can't get back.
People catch up.
People catch up.
Get better.
Yeah.
And they can't accept that. Yeah. Because they never actually had to process all that belief in the first place.
That's right.
And yeah, old school gamers are just, yeah, they're interesting generation.
It is an interesting generation.
Like we're not old school gamers. Like my definition of an old school gamer would be like someone who was playing League at the heights at like 19, 20. So like they're like 33, 34 now in terms of League of Legends. In their 30s or late 20s. Like I feel like we're just on the end of it.
Yeah, you mean like Double Lives era?
Yeah,
like Reginald,
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
just before us.
Yeah,
it's like a few years before us.
Yeah.
There was a different generation then. It was, and that was a big part of that was the lack of educational content.
Yeah, everyone just sucked, and
that was the way gaming a lot of the time was. Like it was like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. Exactly. It was the blind leading the blind. That's right. Yeah.
And then it was like the people that had the most, in a way, like, I guess talent was probably more of an aspect back then, because it was a less structured approach to actually learning the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. I just quickly touching on this. I stumbled across a Twitter the other day because I was a massive Counter-Strike player back in the day. And I remember I was a kid, and there was like a player that I looked up to. His name was Death Dog, and he was like this really good player, and what was it, Death or Rambo? I can't remember his name. Yeah, popped on my feed, and I'm like looking at him now, and he's like doing educational resources for Counter-Strike, right? And I was like, holy moly! And it's almost as if like there was a bunch of these players who were maybe very good at the game, or super dedicated to the game, or maybe overly reliant on talent, rose to the top, and then tried to make sense of why they were good at the game, and then started creating educational content in a way across all titles. This happened in like WoW and Counter-Strike and all these other games. It's kind of like it's like these people that are super talented, but I feel like that's going away. Like that model of someone just getting naturally really good at the game and then kind of like deconstructing, figuring out themselves, and then because what happens now from now on, and let's speak from our experience. Well, let's see. You see this in the fighting game world. When a new fighting game comes out, they all just take the same methodology, same methodology of improving in that past game to the new game. Nothing is really different apart from like the heroes and maybe some different mechanics, but the methodology of how you improve at the game and the concepts of like footsies and mental stack, they all still exist.
You're saying because it's more established.
It's more established.
There's a blueprint.
There's a blueprint. It's like the first people who got good at like basketball before like there was maybe no hand, maybe like, or football, like really, really far ago. Like imagine when football was invented, right? Like no one had any game to reference around. So there was no inherent structures or concepts for them to like rely on. But every generation from that point had a little bit more of an advantage of understanding how to get better at this specific sport. And so now we're at a time in gaming where there's now been like a history of games. Like you start from like the old competitive, like StarCraft, and then Counter-Strike and World of Warcraft, all this game, Dota and stuff, right? And every game that happens and the more sophisticated the educational industry becomes and gaming, the concepts are going to live on. So every game that comes out from this point onward, well, obviously,
It's people not starting from scratch
people are not starting from scratch anymore.
Yeah.
So say the next game is this whole new game that hasn't been invented.
New genre.
New genre,
Yeah.
right? That hasn't been invented. We don't know of yet. Something's like crazy AI, VR, new genre that hasn't been invented yet, right? Not a MOBA, not an FPS, not a RPG. It's just some combo. People are going to take things from all these games. They're not going to have to start from scratch. You know what I mean?
And then this Counter-Strike guy.
So the game is going to be different.
This Counter-Strike guy, he was like the first one to start thinking about how did I actually get good?
Yeah, he's
And
like
then
starting
he's
from
pioneering it. That's so cool. I think that's so cool.
Well, that's kind of in a weird way what we've done with League.
yeah,
That's what we're doing with League.
yeah, that's what we were forced to do.
That's what we were forced to do.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so from when we did it in League, there might have been some educational resources for other MOBAs, right? Dota, maybe. But it wasn't really that established. It wasn't really that sophisticated. So we've kind of bootstrapped our methodology. And I guess we haven't started from zero, I guess, because we've taken some concepts from other sports and stuff, and other industries. But I guess in a long-winded way, what I'm trying to say is that the next generation of gamers are just going to be different.
I think so as well.
It's just different because of the way we learn games and get better at games now comparatively to what you did back in the day.
And our general understanding of like the rank system,
And
how the
respect.
ladder works.
And inherent respect for games.
Just more, it's just power of information, right?
Yeah. Which, so it would be very, very interesting to see how, like, the next generation of, like, the best players... We've said this so many times, but I am genuinely fascinated. Like, what is the best League of Legends player going to look like in like, say, 10 years from now? If League is around for another 10 years, like, what does the rank 1 player look like?
Yeah. I mean, you got...
And how do they get there?
You got Chovy nowadays.
Yeah.
What's the next Chovy?
It's a great question.
All right.
You want to Skool?
Skool post. All right, Skool, our BBC community. The one we've picked today comes from Ruca Nick. Very simply, how do you improve mechanics? As title says, I want to improve mechanics. I'm Diamond 4 currently and have pretty good mechanics, but I don't have some insane macro. That's why I'm asking.
So I just want to say, I told Nathan to choose this one. I gave a very general response. But I wanted to like talk about this because I think this is a very common question. So I want to read my response here.
Yep.
And then kind of elaborate on it. And kind of, I guess, yeah. So basically what I said, mechanics is an umbrella term. It encompasses many things. You need to get specific as to what aspect of mechanics you want to improve. For example, spacing and tethering is a combination of anticipation from understanding the enemy champion and good quality clicking close to your character. Dodging skill shots is a combination of alternating dodging patterns, long and short clicks, but also anticipation based off enemy cooldown understandings. Once you've got specific, then I can give you more granular advice. Now his response was, dodging skill shots, I was good when I was playing something with even a little bit of mobility, but since my departure from mid lane and now playing AD carry, I get bombarded with skill shots as Draven, and I can't dodge most of them because they aim for the axes. And the only trick I know is to kind of dodge before picking it up because there is a right time you can do it. So as you can tell, he's obviously thinking at a very surface level. So the first thing that I want to say here is that if you ask a general question, you're going to get a general response. So in League of Legends, you need to learn to ask specific questions. And so the more specific you get, the more value you'll get from the response.
Now, so what would a specific version of how do I improve my mechanics look like?
It's a great question. Okay, so what I would say is, okay, well, the best way to go about it would be, here is a clip of me getting hit by a series of skill shots over this 2-minute sequence. What could I have done better to avoid these skill shots? Okay, so then we're talking specifically about getting hit by skill shots, and we have an example, and we can get into it. That would be the best way, really. You need to show examples.
Yep, that's best case scenario.
That's best case scenario. I guess the layer below that would be, okay, I want to get better at specifically dodging skill shots in lane. Versus Xerath. That's a great pick up there. Versus Xerath. What could I be doing better to increase my likelihood of avoiding those skill shots? Okay, well then we could get specific. We say, okay, into Xerath, because his skill shots are quite... you have the cues quite linear and stuff. You want to be doing usually more horizontal movement rather than vertical. Okay, so that'd be one aspect. Horizontal movement. Horizontal movement is a very big part of dodging skill shots. Most skill shots are linear in the way they're casted. Some of them are, you have some that aren't, that outliers. For example, Hui EE is kind of like a claw that closes in, so you don't dodge horizontally, you dodge vertically. But a lot of skill shots like REQ, Lux Q, Xerath Q, Victor E, Syndra E, all these are skill shots. You never dodge vertically, you dodge horizontally. It's going to massively increase the likelihood of dodging those skill shots. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is short and long clicks. Good quality movement in terms of increasing your likelihood of dodging skill shots revolves around short, sharp turns with long strides. So if you only do short, sharp clicks, this is what good micro was thought to be years ago, you don't move anywhere because your character model isn't actually traversing any distance. So you need to do a combination of longer strides with short, sharp turns. And then the third layer to that then is alternating the way you move your character. So then you might do long, 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 short, 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 and you might want to create a pattern and then you break the pattern. So you might do, change the cadence, the frequency, and the way you move your character within that short, long model to then overwhelm the enemy's mental stack. So you might do a series of long horizontal clicks and then randomly start doing a bunch of short clicks. Vice versa, and you constantly mix up that through the lane phase. Or you might even weave in vertical clicks here and there just to kind of screw with them as well. So you've got 3 layers there. And then you've got, there's more aspects of that, but that's just giving you guys a taste test of like how granular and how specific you can get. But each of those specific elements, those 3 specific elements I've just listed, you can focus on them. You can purposefully overwhelm your mental stack with them. And this is what I'm just going to speak no bullshit. This is what I did. I got sick of getting gapped by players on my server, like by Eminez and Kisei and shit. So I'm like, all right, I've had enough. Obviously, my mechanics are not up to scratch. I need to do something about it. So I got granular and I studied. What is these players doing better than me? Why does their movement feel like I can't hit skill shots on them and they can? Why do I feel so pressured all the time? And I can't hit shit and they're always hitting shit on me. And so I realized I deconstructed their movement and I created the philosophy of the short and long clicks. I literally just made that up. That's from what I observed, from practical observation. And so what I did, I would go into a game with my mental stack completely overwhelmed, purely focused on my movement, doing short, long clicks. So it's intentional. I really wanted to make sure my character was traversing enough distance with short, sharp turns. Now, my warding went to shit. My leaning went to shit. I would die to ganks. I would, my waves would be cooked. I would miss resets. That's okay. I was willing to make that trade-off to speed up my development of muscle memory in regards to this one specific skill. And once I'd done that, I moved on to the next layer. So I got really, really good at, changing the pattern in which I would then do my movement. So I wouldn't just do short, long clicks linearly. I would just move them, change them up a little bit, create a pattern, break a pattern. And then I'd get better at baiting, sacrificing minions and creating windows to take trades and stuff like that. I just went one by one. I just literally overwhelmed my mental stack one by one until you have enough muscle memory to do this while executing on the fundamentals.
And then not feeling pressured.
Exactly right. And so I think that something that is just misunderstood in the league community is this whole idea that you just get better at mechanics or you just get better at micro.
Once again, that's pushed from the high elo and the old school gamers because that going against that narrative that you can break it down like that, that's like, well, no.
Yeah, no.
you can't do that.
And actually, it's so funny. There would be so many high elo players that would literally laugh at me saying that to this day.
Yeah.
They would say, this guy's delusional. He's in Irish. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Or you don't need to go that deep.
Or you don't need to go that deep. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
I don't do that. If I'm 1K challenger LB,
I never did that.
I never did that. Yeah. So you don't need to do that. That is the belief from a lot of high elo players because they didn't deconstruct it. They played their thousands of games. They, obviously, when we've broken down this on other episodes, Nathan, there are players that get to 1,000 LP, high elo challenger, with no deconstructing these things. They're very, very curious about the game. They're obsessed about the details.
They hate losing.
Like I said, they're obsessed about losing.
Yeah, it's hate losing.
Hate losing.
Yeah.
And just and intuitively through pattern recognition, fix holes. They may not even understand it logically, but they can play to a very high level. And the fact that, and this is the thing, it's like, it's very uncomfortable to talk about because there are just topics like this in real life. It's like privilege is a real thing, right? Like we can sit here and have a discussion about how, you know, you have like, you know, say two families or two kids. One of them had a wealthy family and they had more access to better quality education, tutors, you know,
Opportunities.
more opportunity, right? Like, you know, the connections, whatever. And then there's another kid that didn't have a good upbringing in a single parent household and went to a public school and didn't have access to tutors and blah, 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 blah. They may end up in the same place, right? Maybe through hard work and dedication. It's uncomfortable to note that privilege was a factor for one of these families, but it's like, you can't deny the fact that it exists. So it's like, but the fact that privilege exists or talent, or like, let's say talent in a weird way exists, because it does exist even in league in a way, right? People think that they can't coexist. Like, you know what I mean? Like people think that because talent exists in League of Legends, you can't also get there via hard work and deconstructing concepts. But that's bullshit, right? There are people that can get to high elo with talent, and there are people who can get to high elo via deconstructing concepts and learning this way. But people who are on the side of talent don't want to admit that this other
side exists
because
because then they're not special.
Because they're not special, and they didn't do it that way, and they don't. Yeah, they do. What's the word? It kind of breaks their belief about how you do get high elo. Because if that were to be true, what else could they have done in their own journey as well?
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
That's a scary thought. It's like the what if. Like, fuck, if these guys are right, if I'm
that means I underlived my perceived potential.
Exactly right. If I'm 1200 LP and I'm here and I didn't do any of this,
I could be at Worlds.
Fuck, I could be a world champion.
Yeah, that's right. That's a scary thought, man.
That's a scary thought because people don't want to think like that. They want to live in their happy fairyland about, you know, I am at my peak potential. This is it. This is the best I could have done, because it's uncomfortable to think otherwise.
Yeah, so mechanics is not my strength, Curtis. I've not gone in that in depth at breaking down mechanics. The junglers, we have very limited opportunities to display mechanics compared to a laner. A lot of the things for a jungler is thinking about how you want to use your abilities and anticipation. Like you know how when in the Cupcake episode, I really sort of connected when he said that he doesn't believe in mechanics. It's just anticipation. That's more so for jungle support can fit that pretty quick. Right. Because it is like just awareness of like where they are, how to, you know, holding abilities, anticipating what they're going to do. That's actually a massive part of improving at mechanics as a jungler and a support.
Even in lane.
In lane as well.
It is. The game that is the game of league. It
is the game of league, but what I'm saying is that it's more obvious to pick up,
right,
as a jungler and support, that it's anticipation.
Well, if you anticipate, if you're a master of anticipation, the execution becomes a hell of a lot easier. Right, it becomes a hell of a lot easier.
So you know the skill shot coming, you know the threat on you, you anticipated everything.
But that doesn't mean there's not levels to it.
Yeah, there's like, you're talking about anticipation for yourself, anticipation for your 4 teammates, the enemy 5. Is that
what I mean is this. Like, okay, let's say this. Okay, this is where mechanics really come into play, right? You get 2 players.
Yeah.
You got one player that wants to hit a skill shot. Say on Lux, and I want to land this E on you. I know you're anticipating my E. You, on the other hand, know that I want to hit you. And then you know that I know that I'm going to land my E on, and I want to land my E on you. Then it becomes mind games. So then if it's pure anticipation, if you rely purely on anticipation against competent players.
Yeah, because it only gets you so far.
It only gets you so far.
Because you're going to anticipate that they're going to dodge your E. So then they're going to play differently.
And that's where the next level of, okay, what are you going to do about it then? We both are anticipating each other. Yeah. That's where micro really comes into play. And in mid and lane specifically, that's a huge part of it, because when 2 competent players that know what the champs do and what they both want to do, then that's where, the micro expression, you know, and all those other things, long, short clicks, changing your patterns, all that stuff really, really comes into play. You can't avoid it. But yes, you got to have high levels of anticipation, and that will get you very far in League of Legends. But that's not the whole picture. It's a big part of it though. But yeah, I think there's just levels to it. There's just a lot of levels.
All right, do we want to read some of these comments, Curtis?
Sure.
Finzo here says, I feel like mechanics is a pretty broad term. You might want to point out one specific mechanical ability like hitting skill shots, dodging skill shots, kiting, and work on that. I don't feel qualified to give you specific advice on how to improve these, but if you specify what type of mechanical skill you want to improve, others might be able to give you better advice. I think Finzo here, he's talking about, we got to get specifics. Yep. He should have been asking for the only other actual way is the VODs, right? Actually getting specific with that. Then we've got Lachlan Civil. We know him.
Sibby.
Increasing mouse sensitivity is a good place to start. In MOBAs like League, it should be on the higher end.
This one,
wait.
I'm going to tell you a really funny story here, Nathan. You're not going to believe this, by the way.
Yeah.
I have a player in my Midland Academy that was playing or plays on 12,000 DPI.
That's not possible.
No bullshit.
You would have to be moving the mouse. How do you click close to your character?
I don't know.
It's not millimeters, nanometers.
This is what they do. They mustn't just barely move their mouse, just like that, a little bit. And they're struggling with the game.
Oh, so okay. I thought you were going to tell me they're a challenger.
No, they're like, I think like gold or something.
Okay, that's still impressive.
I know. That's what I said.
Let us know people's DPIs.
So in our community, we did a bit of I just asked around.
A server. That's very interesting.
It's like 800 to 1600.
Dude, I'm 800, dude. I think Shern had a really low DPI.
Really,
as well.
Was low, like 400. I think. His was like 400. Yours like 800. One's 1600. But there were some people at max I've seen is like 3,000 or something, like a little bit higher than mine.
What was FPS games, by the way?
Really low.
Really low.
Yeah. Really low.
Yeah,
that's why they go huge. They have they move.
Yeah, I disagree. Is Sybil saying here that higher end, he wants people to do 3,000, 4,000?
You can't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know.
The lower the DPI,
you can't
the better.
Have too low.
Yeah,
but you can't have too high.
Too high.
I mean, look, Shern proved that you can have too low. But to be fair, he was a jungler, but he still played.
That's true.
Pretty good skirmishing, man.
Yeah.
Shern had good skirmishing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I agree with this one, Sibby. I don't know if you're watching this. I would like you to elaborate on that one in the comments if you're watching.
12,000 DPI.
12,000. I lost my mind when I heard that. I was like, what the...
Did things make sense in the review
session? Yeah, it made sense. I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Okay.
Holy
It always makes sense. See, these are the things that scare me. These are the things that you actually never find out. That it's like the person is like doing all the things. Like, why are they?
How are they not climbing? There's always a reason.
And then there's something like that just throws me off. I'm like,
makes sense. No shit, you're struggling. You're probably never going to climb past this point.
But the thing is that they wouldn't be able to tell it was an issue. Like they won't know. They won't know. Like, what's
but I'm like, how did you get to that point where you have 12,000 DPI? Like I wouldn't like the average person if they were to touch that mouse just using the desktop wouldn't be able to.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like no one would get to this.
How would you get to that?
That's such a good one. What's the journey look like for a 12,000 DPI person?
I don't know.
Let's say you start as a kid as a journey. You're on your parents' computer, right? And it's you wouldn't. Yeah. No 40-year-old
or like a public computer.
No. Let's say the people that set up those are like old timers. Yeah. Right? Let's say your parents. Again, a while ago. No one. So it's like, so then suddenly one day you're like, oh, it's just a little bit faster. It's like, this is annoying. Like I can't use Google Chrome like faster. I can't go to the next tab and then faster. Or does it just go?
I don't want to move.
I feel like the journey might be. They must be learnt. It's like sort of like a language. Like they just instantly learnt on 12,000 DPI.
No. I think what they said, if I'm, they probably will comment, but I'm pretty sure they said they saw one of their friends who was good at a game had like really high DPI, and I think she equated high DPI being
with skill level.
Oh,
so she forced herself super uncomfortable.
I think so.
She built the muscle over a couple of weeks.
Look, I don't know 100%, but that's my my hypothesis here.
I wonder if she browses like the internet
and how I'd love to see just the hand move like in a game. Like, does it just like go from like what's the radius? Like, what's the circumference of that of that movement? Like, is it like a centimeter?
I love seeing the Counter-Strike players.
Yeah, it's like
massive mouse pad. They have like the mouse pad's like bigger than their desk,
and they're moving it like that.
That's like pro gaming, dude. I love that. That's what I do. I tilt my. That's actually a tool that I have for my high intensity. It's
like a
upright
physiological
as well
thing.
as the tilt, because I see like all the ESL tournaments and stuff of them, and I tilt that and just do big mouse strokes.
Yeah.
I love that. Dude.
Right.
I play my best League of Legends there.
You know, if it works, it works. I think we've had enough of this. I think we move on.
All right. That's it for our school post. If you want to join, link in description below. Mailbag time, Curtis. Yep. Away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's Mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. Alrighty then. Our first question here comes from Bruno. The title of this podcast is I Feel Like I Don't Deserve My Rank. Right matchmaking anomaly. Hey coaches, I love the podcast. I started listening to it this year on episode 1. And I'm almost catching up to the most recent podcast.
Oh my goodness.
We're up to episode 200.
We're on 215.
How many days of the year have there been? That would be at minimum, one podcast a day.
Nearly. Is it? About right. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to have to be probably more.
Yeah.
Incredible. Anyways, I like to apologize for the long question, but I feel like a little background is necessary. Firstly, I attached a screenshot of my OPGG for more information. Secondly, I'm a jungle main, stuck currently around Emerald 1 to Diamond 3. I started my league journey around the end of 2020 when a couple of my friends finally convinced me to start playing it. The catch is that they were from another region, and since I only wanted to play with them, I had 160 plus ping. That went on until 2022, where I finished Silver 2 and my friends stopped playing and I didn't. I finally created an account in NA, but I still played mostly draft for content creation reasons. I will not say the name of the channel because I'm not asking for a shout out. However, the reason why I mentioned it will be important later. During that time, I had over 500 games where I wasn't really focusing on the gameplay. Usually had music / YouTube videos / Discord on the background. I finally decided to take the game seriously in Split 2 2023. The only thing I did differently was that I would not do anything on the background. I would focus 100% on the game. I climbed quickly from silver to diamond. Nonetheless, even though I had a complete journey of my climb on my YouTube, a lot of people still call me boosted and bad in game and in the comments. I believe them. I don't know much about anything. Jungle tracking, map awareness, ganks invading, at most a gold level. I feel like what carried me this far was extremely good mental. With work, college, gym, and other obligations, I've been putting off reviewing, but it might be time to finally get to it. Anyways, I feel like what I'm trying to ask is if I'm some kind of good luck anomaly that right matchmaking carried me this far, or if there's something I'm doing right which I'm not aware of. Again, thanks a lot for the podcast. I love listening to it during work. So screenshots here. Let's get an idea of what Champ played. So this season, finished Emerald last season. Currently Diamond 4. 200 games, 52% win rate, and champions are Kindred, Brand, Diana, Kane. Very nice champ pool. I like this a lot.
Okay. So basically, what's the question again?
So it looks like Bruno here is affected by the comments and stuff. People say that he still sucks at the game, and how's he, like, why is he Diamond? He thinks that the right matchmaking just carried him there.
Oh, right. But he's been now Diamond for a whole year, right?
Yeah, he was the Diamond last year as well.
Yeah.
No, but so he quickly climbed from Silver to Diamond.
Right.
So at the beginning of last year.
Okay. Well, look, I think there's a few things. Well, first things first, the rank system doesn't lie.
It does not lie.
Over a large sample size of games, and you've got a decently large sample size of games, it can lie very temporarily, but it won't lie in the long run.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to understand why you're that rank, though. A lot of this actually bugs people. I've had this people say this to me many times. They say, I don't know why I'm climbing. I don't know why I got this rank. And I said, don't worry. You will trust me. You will find out later on.
Yes.
You may not know now.
No. Yeah.
But 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line, you'll reflect back. You'll be like, oh yeah,
I can see it.
I can see why I got
Yes.
LPI. I know what I was doing now. But you won't, in the moment when you're doing it and when you're there, it's very, very hard because you don't have the game knowledge to really contextualize what you really are doing. And the reason Nathan and I say that is because we were the same. We couldn't probably clearly articulate what we were doing to get to the ranks that we were at until actually not even that long ago, a few years ago, you know? Yeah. So I think that's important to understand. So they're the two things that are important to understand. Number three, you know, you said that you were kind of surprised that you went from silver to diamond, right? That was kind of when you went from silver to diamond. Well, you'd be surprised at how powerful just focusing on the game is. Like, let's just put it in context. I'll give you a few examples here, right? Let's say you're checking out, you're alt-tabbing, you're at music, you're ticking around, checking your stream, whatever. Well, that can be the difference between, if you're a jungler, seeing a counter rank opportunity or not, or seeing a dive or not, or getting an objective or not, or getting a gank off or not. And just one gank, by the way, one gank can completely change a game.
Different game.
You kill that top Fiora and your Jax whatever scales and pops off, boom. One gank, one well-timed gank can change the entire game. So as a jungler especially, right, because you have so much impact over the game, from going to autopilot, checked out, alt-tabbing to just focusing on the here and now, that makes sense why you would see a pretty significant... I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that's a pretty large thing.
Locking in.
Right? That's just locking in is huge.
Yes. That's step one.
That's step one. I think as well, you know, he's there is an element there as well, is like you don't just like play at your level and then not move. Like he's almost assuming that, like, when he said, he's like, I just kind of didn't tilt and focused, that like that's what got me to my rank. Like, he's discrediting the fact that he probably would have improved and figured shit out along the way as he was getting games in.
Yeah, Bruno's here and saying he thinks it's just purely mental. I could look at his gameplay and I would be able to see pretty good jungle tracking, Diamond 4 level, map awareness. Like, maybe there'll be, remember we talk about levers? Like, maybe he has really good champ mastery in some of these.
Maybe his fighting is just really good.
Yeah, and then some of these other ones are, you know, might be a little bit down, but you are clearly a diamond player by far. Looking at your champ pool as well. And what clearly has affected me is he's documented his journey, Curtis. The comment section. Remember the people that, especially a commenting. Number one, you're just generally gonna, people feel that they need to type you got bad rather than you're really good, right? People sit and watch Challenger streams all day, so they can clearly see the difference between what they see at a Challenger and what to a Diamond.
And it's all relative. Like, they're probably comparing you to a Gurren.
Yeah, that's right. So yes, in that context, you
are bad relative to a Gurren.
Bad to a Gurren, but you're in the top 3-4% of the player base. So you are, which is what, you know, the community, you probably maybe got a bunch of Master Tier players, or even probably just Emerald players that just watch there, and, you know, and I could look at the gameplay side by side, like, wait, Bruno's actually much better than this Emerald player saying this, right? So people are just very bad. You know, people just throw that word out, and it actually ruins a lot of the content creators' confidence, like this guy. But it's just not centered in reality. He's clearly a Diamond 4 player.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean you're a holistic Diamond 4 player.
No.
Because you can get to any rank many different ways. This is why we, like Nathan mentioned before, the levers. You could be exceptional at your skirmishing and your ganking, but you may not be jungle tracking at all. Your camera panning might be terrible. You may not be thinking about win cons, but you're like so good at these other areas that you can kind of compensate for being weak in other areas. And that's just the beauty of League of Legends. You can be really good at some and bad in other, and that can make up a rank. So this is why this is my kind of monologue about why comparing ranks and comparing players in League is actually kind of futile, because we don't get there playing the same champs, playing the same way with the same skill set. This is actually what makes League such a interesting game, even from a matchmaking perspective. Even though you're in the same rank, you're going to be versing a wide variety of players with differing skill sets. In the one Diamond 4, let's say 3 block, one game you'll verse, like, let's say like an incredibly, let's say you're a laner. It's probably
let's use mental as an example. One game you're like the mental god, but one game you're against like the person that tilts and gives up super quick. But like when they're on. Like they when they get a lead, they'll instantly, you know, close out the game, carry the game. And then you got someone on the other team where they're really bad mental, but they're they will just ruin the game, right? And like so some of those players could be way higher rank if they fix their mental and stuff, but that's their skill set.
That's the skill set.
They're really good closing out the game, but when they get behind, they just insta lose, right? That exists in the same game.
Yep, exactly right. You're just going to verse a wide variety of players, and so this is why we say you just got to trust the system. The system doesn't lie. You may not understand the system. You may not even understand why you're at the rank you are.
But you're confident that it will make sense looking back.
Of course, it will make sense.
It does.
It will, and it will make sense if you stick with the game. It will make sense. You just don't understand it now. You just got to have faith that you're doing some things right. And so right now you're at a choice. You're at a bit of a crossroads. If you are wanting to take the game seriously, you're at a rank where you're going to have to start maybe taking the game getting a bit more granular, whether it's digesting educational content on YouTube, whether it's getting coaching, whether it's getting other players that you know, friends to watch your gameplay, whatever the hell it might be. If you want to be consistent and you want to maybe become more holistic, that's the steps you're going to have to take. Alternatively, you can slowly chip away at the journey, what you're doing right now, and kind of, try and figure it out yourself. And you can do that. It will just take longer. And you're going to be a bit confused about a few things. So it just really it depends on how you want to go about it. So it's all equally viable, man. Totally up to you.
And yeah, don't let these comments and the comparison affect you.
Yes, because these commenters don't know what the hell they're talking about either.
Yes, no one knows what they're talking about.
And I get, and it sounds ridiculous. I literally get comments, so many negative comments on my videos all the time. People saying I have no idea what I'm talking about. Think about that from my perspective. I've literally been coaching League full time since 2017.
Maybe you don't, but maybe there's some merit there from experience.
There's people that think I have no merit. People think that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Just put that in perspective. I just block out. I don't at the moment even read many comments because I can't deal with the bullshit in YouTube comments anymore. Like I'll skim through them very basically. I used to be really religious with YouTube comments, like read them and reply to them. I
think most content creators, once they hit a certain size, it's very difficult to do comment sections.
It's very mentally taxing.
It is.
To read YouTube comments.
Yeah.
On my personal channel. On the BBC, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's a bit better. But on my YouTube, my personal YouTube, I just can't do it.
Yeah. We have a very high quality community. We always say, Curtis, the best League of Legends community in our subscriber base on Broken by Concept. But if you go to our TikTok and Instagram, by the way, that's a different story.
I'm not going anywhere near that.
People actually be really interested. People that listen to this podcast, and because shorts, you don't have the whole context of like the whole podcast. We try and get as much context as possible in what you can do in a short, right? But they're very, some people have said it's like, I'm so confused about the TikTok comments versus the BBC comments, and because it's a different audience. It's the more general player base. So that's for go to our TikTok and look at some of the comments for our recent shorts. All right, next one here comes from Derek. The title of this email is Atomic Habits and the Process in Other Games. Hello, Nathan Mott and Coach Curtis. I love when people do their full names, Curtis. The Coach Curtis and the Nathan Mott. I want to start off by thanking you guys for all you do for the league and gaming community. I really wish this podcast was listened to by every gamer, so many would have a much better relationship with the game. Keep up your wonderful work. The first question of this letter is if either of you have read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I began reading this book last week and I'm beginning to get tired of noticing very obvious parallels between the BBC progress and the strategies James Clear prescribes in this book. It has been a wonderful read so far, and if you have not read this book yet, it is like the manual for the process, but for your life rather than just for League. I'll leave a quote here from section 11 to show what I mean about the parallels between it and the process. If you want to master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. You don't need to map out every feature of a new habit. You just need to practice it. You just need to get your reps in. I would strongly encourage this book to anyone interested in living a life of improvement. My second question is about the application of the process to other gaming endeavors. I've picked up a fighting game recently and have tried to apply the same process I've learned from you guys to this new game. What, in your opinion, are the most fundamental parts of the process that I should transfer over from League to this new game? A lot of the process is League specific, but what is most important to be isolated so that I can apply it to any competitive game I want to play? Thank you once again for all you do. You two are a treasure to League and gaming, Derek.
That's very kind of you. Okay, let's start with what advice would we give to other games. So Nathan, boom, new game came out next week and we had to play. What would you take straight away?
From what we talk about here?
Yep, boom. What are the few principles that you would have?
Our word of the year, word of the month, curiosity. You got to be curious, and intensity. Approaching, attacking the situation, the problems with intensity. Not sitting back and just, oh, this is happening. Problem solve. Get excited.
Yep, love it. I would say, exactly like Nathan said, being curious, problem solving, intensity, coming into your games with intensity, not being distracted, having other tabs open and all this, just dedicated time in my day. Like if I'm going to want to improve at this, I'm going to like schedule that out. I would say just really respecting the mental stack and the muscle memory. It's like, okay, cool. This is all overwhelming and this is very difficult, but it will get better with time. Just really respect that any difficult game is going to take time and practice. So don't overemphasize things. Don't overread into things. Really just trying to enjoy, especially at the beginning of a game when you're trying to like learn it, like kind of just enjoy the process of learning.
Yeah, mess up a lot.
Yeah.
The quote from the Atomic Habits book. You've read it, have you guys?
I've read it ages ago, like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah, don't be, perfection. It's just really ugly. Have a lot of fun. Just lose. Have fun losing.
Yeah. And really like adopt that childlike mentality. It's like being like really like curious, really playful. And I think I would say not over reviewing. If reviewing was a thing, like at the beginning of your journey, you don't really want to review that much. Reviewing comes later on in the journey. It's more something you do later once like you've kind of got a read on what the game is really all about. And once you've really developed a lot of underlying muscle memory. Outside of that, I mean, if it is a PvP oriented game, taking the time to look at situations from the opposition's perspective. If I was that person, why would I do that? What are things that the opposition does that makes that makes me feel annoyed?
Great question.
I love that one. Like
that's curiosity, right?
It's just curiosity, but like specifically, like it's really annoying when that person does that. Why?
Or I feel pressured. Use that earlier in the podcast. That's actually a lot when we improve at League. Like something didn't feel right about the situation, or this can't be the case. I can't feel this overwhelmed at this all the time. Something must
be going wrong. Listen to your emotions. If something feels frustrating or annoying or pressuring, listen to that, address it, and use that as a way to streamline your learning journey. And that's my little cheat code. I say if anything feels annoying to verse, it is typically good. That's my like little cheat code that I have for discovering the meta. So I've said they're the main things. The other thing I took that really comes to me, this is not from Atomic Habits, but something that really just sprung to my mind is like that quote where it says, I might be butchering it. It's like action precedes motivation, or motivation precedes action. I think it's action precedes motivation. So like you don't motivation comes from taking action. And so in life, like, when people say, they say, oh, I don't really enjoy something, or I'm not really motivated to do something. When you set something in action, you set events in action and you do things, everything becomes easier to do. Everything feels more motivating, and everything you will feel motivated to do something once you just start doing it. It's like, that's something that I try to really focus on. Like, say for example, I don't want to go to the gym say I'm not feeling the gym. Literally just put your shoes on,
you start
drive,
you start going
walking,
there.
And once you're in there, you're like, oh, okay, it's actually not that bad. I actually kind of want to go, and it actually feels really good. But if you don't take action, then you won't, like, it's hard to like, you can't, people think that you get motivated and then you take action. It's very rare that is the case. It can be very temporarily like that, but most of the time, most of your journey, it's going to be the complete opposite other way around. So yeah, that's completely unrelated, but it's something that came to mind. The only thing that I remember specifically from Atomic Habits was there was I read a lot of books during that time, but there was one thing I think where it was like, if you want to get better at getting out of bed, you put your alarm on the other side of the room. So like if your alarm goes off on the other side of the room, you have to get out of bed to turn the alarm off. But if the alarm is like make it harder to do, or make it easier to do the things you want to do.
It'll be easy to get out of
And it'll
bed
be easier
because
to get out of bed.
you're sick of hearing that sound.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's sort of like a cheat code to like build up these habits.
That makes it easier to
You want to make it
create
as
the
easy
habit.
as possible.
Yeah.
The more friction you put in
Yeah.
front of the way of building the habit, then it's just harder to
it's
do.
harder.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and to build.
That's something I think that's from that book. But yeah.
The last thing I'll add here as well, I mean, maybe obvious, but learn from the best players.
What are they doing?
What are they doing with this champion? Or, that's a very helpful way to sort of kickstart a lot of like,
Even
okay,
just
that
get
makes sense.
inspired.
Yeah, get inspired.
I think getting
yeah.
inspired at a
I
very
think
basic
I feel like
level.
if I was new to a game, like you'll get a lot of 20%ers from just watching someone who's really good at the game.
And even if you don't fully understand it, just copy.
It's like, and the direction, just copy blindly.
Copy blindly.
And then
And
you sort
figure
of
it out later.
And then you figure it out later.
Yep.
That's right.
They're using this ability or doing this thing. I'm just going to do that. How's that feel? Why are they doing that? And then you figure out that later.
Yeah. When I initially climbed in League, again, different era time, I did not think about a single build path. I just copied everyone initially. And then I started coming up with my own Udia builds.
Love it.
All right. Our next question for today's episode.
Holy moly.
This is going to be a bit of a long one.
Holy moly.
All right. This one is from Zakee. Title of this one is Retiring from League, My Complete Journey. Dear Coach Curtis and Nathan Mott. Here's another full name one, Curtis. My name is Zakee, and I've been a listener of BBC for 3 years now. A year ago, I hit Grandmaster, and since then have retired from grinding ranked. You two were a great help to me, and I wanted to write an email explaining myself as a player and how your teachings have helped me both in-game and out-of-game. This is a long email, and I apologize in advance. Some background on me. I've been a gamer for as long as I can remember. I got a Wii when I was 5 and picked up MapleStory and Adventure Quest when I was 7. Wow, that's exactly the same as my journey. Those were the first games that I also picked up. Was I 7? No, that would have been 9, 10. Yeah, Adventure Quest and MapleStory. That is so scary. Around this time, I also got really into Super Smash Brothers. I didn't go down that route. Brawl. I have also been playing sports from a young age. I started with soccer and baseball in elementary school and picked up lacrosse in middle school. I dropped all of them and committed myself to ultimate frisbee, track and field, and swimming in high school, and I still casually compete in all of these sports to this day. As a child, I was always good at whatever I picked up. My parents were strict and tried to imprint good habits onto me, but learning was easy and never needed to study to bring in top grades. Even in classically hard classes like math and science, even in games like Smash Bros, I was the best player in my neighborhood. I was labeled as gifted, and I told I would go far in life. While great for my self-esteem, it was terrible for my work ethic and inflated my ego. This will come back into play later. My cousin introduced me to League in Season 5 when I was 14. I was enamored with the gameplay loop and quickly fell in love with mid lane, specifically Veigar and Ahri. I played with my Minecraft friends and hit level 30 in 4 months. I wasn't the greatest, but I knew so little about the game that I failed to realize this. I started playing ranked in April the same way and quickly got down to earth. One might even say subterranean. I had a 31% win rate that season, with my highest win rate being Malzahar at 8 and 8, dead 50%. I ended Silver 4. Around the same time, I started playing Smash Bros with my friends from school and got reality checked there as well. I was just not good. I was actually really bad at the game. A combination of these two realities and starting high school where the competition and difficulty in class ramped up really shattered me. That ego I had built up was utterly destroyed. I became very insecure and self-destructive, telling myself I would never be enough, and a lot of these thought processes still stick with me to this day. All of this because I never once in my first 14 years of my life had tasted any failure. But then something changed. I started watching esports and saw the bright lights and huge crowds and imagined myself there. I always loved competing. It's why I love soccer and Smash, and I wanted more. I watched VODs of PPMD versus Armada at Apex 2015, a huge Melee tournament, and was inspired to pick up Melee. I saw the TSM Super Team form and that extremely famous double if Lucian play, and fell in love with him as a player and his mentality. I saw Faker absolutely dominate other mid laners at Worlds with his Ryze and Lulu. Those MMOs I played when I was young, they taught me how to grind for hours on end, banging my head into a wall until the wall broke. And my sports experience taught me how to work well with others and compromise when needed in a competitive team environment. Both of these were extremely helpful in learning League. And so I started to grind. I did not do a single VOD review, did not look at my mistakes, and just jumped into game after game. Season 6, I picked up Shen as a more supportive champ to supplement my bad mechanics and climbed to gold 5 by the end of the season. I had more losses on Shen that year than games total in Season 5. Season 7 was another change. I put down Shen and picked up Kassadin because I watched the Expeke backdoor play, and it was the sickest thing ever. Kassadin is still my most played champ of all time. I also added Ari and Ryze to my pool because of my love for the GOAT Faker, though I wasn't very good at it either. At this time, I also transitioned from top lane secondary to jungle secondary and added Graves into my champ pool, which opened up my eyes to how much solo laners affected how a jungler can play the game. I profusely apologized to all the junglers who got invaded when I had triple stacked wave crashing into my tower as Kassadin. While I ended gold 4, I was once again had many more games and a good win rate on my top 5 champions. Season 8, when things started to change. At this point, I was actively grinding both League of Legends and Melee and was extremely invested in the esports scene for both. While I was still a little delusional about my skill level, I was extremely realistic about improvement and loss. I had been humbled so many times by both my friends and matchmaking that losing was okay and it didn't break me down like it used to. I also had a lot of stage 4 issues resolved in my life. I formed better relationships with my friends in school and got a girlfriend. My mental was in a great place. I was competing in both ultimate frisbee and swimming, and not only was I above average at both, it also helped me stay in shape. This year, I was basically a 2-trick. I picked Kassadin every single matchup mid and Kayn into every single matchup jungle. I had a 60% win rate on Kassadin and a 55% win rate on Kayn, and more games on those 2 champs than the other 27 I picked combined. This year, I reached Diamond 4. This was Season 8. This year, I reached Diamond 5 and completely skipped Platinum in the process. I could not have been more proud of myself. At this point, I put down grinding League. I was the best player among my friend group, and thought this was as far as I could go, given that I needed to focus on college applications and exams. I stopped playing for so long, I actually ended the year Platinum 3 because there used to be Decay and Platinum back then. I'm not exactly sure why, but I also developed an attachment to my rank and a lot of general and social anxiety about my rank. Maybe because it was the first thing I had actually worked for and achieved. I really enjoyed that feeling, but I'm not totally sure. I made Smurf accounts to hide my ranked progress from my friends because I was scared that if I dropped down in skill level, they wouldn't like me as much. Really one of the most stupid things I've ever thought, even to this day. In fact, I stopped playing solo duo on my main account and even now play solo duo on an account with none of my IRL friends added. I was still competitive. I naturally am a very competitive person and strive to be the best in the things I enjoy, but I was scared to experience great failure again and never push past Diamond 4. 5 tiers were removed. Even though I had good win rates, the sins of my past had come back to haunt me once again. The 2 years following, in Season 9 and 10, I was still playing Kassadin and Ryze, but Yasuo and Sylas were 2 other champs I picked up for normals in Season 7, and I started to play them in ranked. Maybe I was just bored of Kassadin. He isn't very mechanically demanding champ, and he's very straightforward in how he plays and what his breakpoints are. So I wanted a change of pace. Faker was and still is my idol, so I really started to learn Ryze, and I picked up Yasuo because my friend gifted me a skin for him, and he's a cool, edgy samurai guy. Release Sylas was honestly the most fun I ever had playing League. I had fun, but as I said before, I was scared to push past Diamond and experience failure, so I effectively retired. Then Season 11, I had another breakthrough. During a clash game with my friends, I'd gotten completely banned out of mid lane, all 5 bans dedicated to me. I'm not sure why, but I first time Galio versus a Diamond 2 Aurelia OTP in that game, and I instantly fell in love. I wasn't very good at him. In fact, I got so gapped that I need to recall every other wave, and my jungler had to yoink my mid waves to stop Aurelia from taking tower. But ironically enough, it led to a 5-level lead in the jungle and won because of that. After that Clash tournament, I really felt the urge to grind ranked again. Playing Galio felt like the first time I played Kassadin. Something clicked, and that year I dedicated myself to Galio and Kassadin. Galio was just so simple yet so effective. Every problem I felt I had with Kassadin was solved with Galio. I dropped the ego and once again entered the zone, not just for one specific game, but grinding League of Legends as a whole. I cruised through Diamond and ended Season 11 Masters. It wasn't just a honeymoon phase either. In Season 12, I found similar success. This also brought a change in my mentality once again. I was finding much less success in just grinding out games, and at this point, I'd been following Coach Curtis and Vagar V2 for a while, and I really started to listen to the BBC and watching coaching VODs. I played in 3 blocks and looked at my deaths, roam timers, and general wave management. I was never perfect, and every flaw was a chance to improve myself as a player. Every single BBC episode was valuable to me. I spent a lot more out of game time reviewing and learning the small intricacies that helped you get that consistent 100 LP Masters. In Season 12, I ended Masters, 200-ish LP. Finally, my magnus opus of Season 13. At this point, I was about to graduate college. I started my league journey back in middle school at the age of 14, and here I was at 22, still playing. The start of the year was quiet because I was extremely focused on my college final exams to end my college career on a high note, but after I graduated, I took off. At this point, I dropped Cassidy except as a counterpick. I was not good enough at the hard matchups to blind pick him at this Elo, and I was much more consistent with Galio. It was sad, but I wanted to climb, and it was something I had to come to terms with. My 2 champs were Galio and Yone, and I was able to comfortably blind pick both. I ended split 1 at 550 LP. I took a small break near the end of the split to spend time with friends before I went off to graduate school, but I still played a little casually to not completely fall off. Then split 2 started, and yeah, this is kind of cheese, but I grinded at the start of the split. I had 3 months of free time from the end of college to the start of semester. Grandmaster cutoff was extremely low, but even then I had to play with the past split challenger and GM players. And then finally, in September 2023, it happened. I played in a Diamond 1 average Elo game with R5 Cassidy into a third time Oriana and dropped an 11-4 12 KDA with 8 CS per minute. This game brought me past the GM cutoff. 300 LP and my journey was complete. The next day I logged on and saw the GM promo screen, and I can't even lie to you, I shed a few tears. It was the happiest I'd ever been in my life. After that, I really retired from competitive rank grinding. I was starting graduate school to pursue a PhD, and league was taking way too much time to be sustainable. It had already low-key affected my college career, but it is what it is. You live and learn. All in all, my season looked like this. So Season 5, Silver 4. So it literally just goes Silver 4, Season 5, Season 6, Gold, then Season 8, Diamond, then Master, 1 LP, Master 200, Master 500 LP, then GM 300 LP. With a pretty similar pool all those years. I truly love League of Legends. It's a huge part of my life and how I met most of my closest friends. My current girlfriend and I bonded through this game, and it's a good portion of how we spend time with each other. No other game, no other sport, no other activity has come even a little close to the pure competitive drive I feel when playing this game. It really is something special I hold near and dear to my heart. For years, I lived this game, thinking about it every single minute. I had free time. I have no regrets when it comes to playing this game, even though it probably has negatively impacted my career in some ways. The only regret I have is not putting more effort into it when I was younger. Maybe if I had grinded just a little more or gotten just a bit more support from my parents, I could have gone pro. Probably not, but dreaming is fun. Though I never got to experience the bright lights and adrenaline of playing on a stage, I'm still thankful for what I got out of this game and what I continue to get out of this game. I played through every meta for the past 10 years and not once did I think, wow, I want to drop this game right now, and this is really insane to me. So even though I have truly put down the ranked grind for now, I and only a few play normals every day with friends to unwind and relax, I still consume esports and coaching content and strive to use the teachings I got from this game to my real life. As I said, I'm working towards my PhD in pathobiology. I have no idea what that is. And I try and use methods you guys have taught me in real life career. They've taught me how to get into the mindset for a grind and how to get through rough times and how to better myself as a coworker, friend, and significant other. I apologize if this was a little rambly. I've been typing it out over the course of a week now, and I was just putting my thoughts on paper. I truly attribute a lot of my success to you guys, and I really appreciate all the work you have done, currently do, and will do for this community. Your ideologies and method have changed my life and how I view myself as a person. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Be great, be good, and get out there and grind. It's lit. Sincerely, Zakee. So yeah, I picked this email to talk through, this is what a journey over many, many years, grind, dedication, we're talking about playing the same champs, pretty much the same time, the amount of muscle memory how difficult it is. What do you think, Ernest?
Yeah, it just felt like I was in a movie. I was like it's like flashing through this person's life that I've never met. It's like he was in school and then this, and I was imagining like, you know, the stuff that maybe potentially created a fixed mindset and a bit of the reliance on, you know, talent and, you know, all the emotions of going through that.
The comparison, you know, a bit social anxiety, thinking about, oh, I'm a bad rank. My friends will view me differently.
You know, it's interesting. I guess, look, my response to this is maybe different to yours. I just think that this is just like it's kind of like an ode to how amazing the game of League of Legends is. Like, isn't it crazy how important, how significant a game can be on an individual's life?
Especially when you play it for 10 years. It's such a huge part of your life. I
Part
assume
of
he's
your
in his
life.
20s still, you know? That's like half your life.
It's a lot of time, and it's just like, you know, the whole thing is just a game. It's not really just a game.
No.
It's more than just a game. You know, it's a lot. You're putting in a lot of time. You know, you find out a lot about yourself. You know, you make mistakes, you have triumphs, you have setbacks, but it just makes you really appreciate the game of League of Legends. And then also just like, I hope people at Riot Games see stories like this. Like, I just hope that this is plastered on their walls, like, and not forget that, like, this is like who you're doing it for. Like, for people that just enjoy the game.
They're out there. And it's hard to see sometimes.
It's hard to see sometimes, but like, I wish we could send this to like just Riot, like the head of Riot, like the executive team or some shit. You need to protect the game so that this can live on.
Correct.
And so other people, many other people can have this experience. And I just think that it's such a raw insight into a no bullshit look into someone's league experience. And it's cool that we got to be a small part of his journey and shape his journey. So yeah, it's just a beautiful story.
It's really cool that these memories are so ingrained in him. He's able to recall season. I mean, obviously you can go back and see it split, but he's also described the emotions, his mindset, his narratives each year and how he evolved each season. This is what it looks like. It's not, oh, I just played season 10, 11, 12. Bam, talents have got master. Bam, GM, and yeah, it was all good. Acknowledge that his approach to learning and improving the first couple of years was throw enough shit at a wall, eventually it sticks. That's how we all started. But what we're doing with this podcast, our community, our teachings, our programs is structuring things so we can speed up that process and it actually makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Look, I think,
what do you think about him now? His different direction. We talked about at the beginning of this podcast about how people's relationship and how they view the game changes. I mean, for him, it sounds like he's stepping away from ranked. He's accepted. This is a good example of like accepted. PhD now, understands grinding Grandmaster now. It's really, really difficult to climb in there. It sounds like he doesn't really enjoy the game that much. If he's not grinding ranked, he's a competitive person based on his background. He's clearly,
he's owning it.
And he's made peace with it.
And the thing is that it will change. He might come back a few, 5 years down the line. Who knows? But I think that you can tell he's being honest with himself, and he knows that he needs to prioritize his situation, which he needs to do. He needs to prioritize his. He's doing a PhD, right? Yeah, so it definitely seems like he's had that. He's made peace with his situation, and he's been honest with himself. So yeah, man, I just really appreciate that people take the time to write their story, and also just be so transparent and open about this situation. So yeah, thank you for writing in, and also thank you for just sharing this with us. And yeah, really, really, I'm really, really glad that we could have helped you in your journey. Like sometimes it's just overwhelming. Sometimes like, holy shit, we're just two Aussies here. We're two guys sitting on these.
I always think about like especially the time zone difference. Like I'm sleeping, like someone's like watching our podcast and like playing their ranked like 3 block. Like it's so cool to me.
It just sometimes leaves me speechless because it's just like, it's hard. It's a weird feeling. It's like our philosophy and what we're talking about here in this room in Melbourne, Australia, is having an impact on someone's life and how they see the world in
The other side of the world. Yeah, that is.
It's just like, it is just a bit of a head spin.
A lot of the people as well that have written into us but have never been in our programs or we've engaged with. There's all these hidden people out there.
It's pretty remarkable. Love it.
All right.
Thank you so much, man.
That's a good one to end the podcast on, Curtis.
Yep.
Any final comments? Housekeeping.
Check out our
Skool community. 3 blocks process. What was the theme of today again,
Curiosity,
Curtis? Understanding the mental stack. So then we're not getting frustrated, throwing our keyboards at the wall. It all makes sense. You just need to break it down. Get into the details, as my t-shirt says. See you guys next week.